everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Freestyle Friday. Today we are presenting In College on Stage, the Act 2 Summit. My name is Brittany Adebumola. I am an opening act alum and a recent graduate from Syracuse University's BFA acting program. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
And my name is Isaiah Brooks. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm currently in my senior year at Syracuse University studying in the BFA acting program. So happy to be here with everyone.
Yes, likewise. So Act 2 is Opening Acts College and Career program that provides support and events like this for students and alumni, which I personally always look forward to. An Opening Act for All is a new program that just launched a few weeks ago that brings theater and arts training to people all over the world, which I think we all need in this time. We need to keep theater and the arts alive. Yeah.
Yes. All right. And just some house cleaning things. If you're watching this via YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to share this video on your page. Feel free to post comments and questions in the chat feature throughout today's event, and we'll do our best to answer them. And just a continuation of the rundown of just like our agenda. We're going to be talking about college theater programs and the types of degrees you can get of working in the theater, studying in the theater. And we'll have a panel, actually. We'll have a panel discussion about equity, diversity, and inclusion in a few college programs. And then we'll also be providing some information about the application and audition process. And we'll also have another panel about representatives from each school. So Brittany, if it sounds good to you, let's jump into some information about college, applying to college for theater.
So first and foremost, why study theater in college? Well, you can get comprehensive theater training, diverse career options. There are so many different jobs and career paths under the umbrella of the theater industry. Performance opportunities. You can build an artistic community. You know, in opening act, some of us are writers, some of us are actors, some of us are dancers, and we often collaborate within our community to create art. So that's another, network of people that you can collaborate with. And then, of course, building your own network. Because in this industry, it's about who you know. So you want to make those connections for sure.
Absolutely. And then there are many types of theater degrees that exist. There are 2-year programs, there are 4-year programs. Some people decide not to go to like a university. They might go to a conservatory program where you don't exactly get a college degree, but you get your maybe a certification. So these things look like associate's degrees, and it's like Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, Associate of Applied Sciences. These, like I said, are available through 2-year and some 4-year colleges. We'll also be talking about potentially transferring. Say if you're enrolled at one school in theater and say you're not too satisfied with your experience and you think going to a different university or institution is the way for you, we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. And then in your 4-year degree programs, we will have a Bachelor of Arts, which is a BA, and then a BS, which is a Bachelor of Science, and then a BFA, which is a Bachelor in Fine Arts, which Brittany has, and then I'm currently finishing my training for a BFA.
So all of that might just sound like a bunch of, alphabet letters, and you're just like, what does that even mean? So let's talk about the difference between a BFA degree and a BA or a BS degree. So we'll start with the BA or BS, Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. Those programs are more generalized programs. So you'll get a more, diverse sort of curriculum where maybe you'll study theater, and maybe you'll also take a few classes in directing, and maybe a class or two in stage management, in lighting design, costume design. So you're kind of dipping your toes in the different, sort of career paths or experiences that all fall under the umbrella of theater. And then, of course, you could probably, depending on the program, you might even be able to emphasize a specific interest that you have. So if you know that you're into directing, you can probably take a few extra courses on directing, and that'll be your focus or concentration. And then, in contrast, you have the BFA degree. And that's more pre-professional training. It's more performance-based or production-based. So I have a BFA. Isaiah is working towards his BFA, and he's working on a BFA in acting. I got a BFA in acting as well. So the majority of our curriculum was focused on acting. and there wasn't really that sort of, we didn't really have as much opportunity to dive into directing or other fields. So it's a more specialized course of study.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, each school is very specific to itself. So big emphasis on check the websites. Always check the website. We'll probably say it a bunch of times today, but check each school's website constantly, especially now because of pandemic. They're constantly updating information, and they're constantly, deadlines are changing, or they're figuring out how to audition students for their following school year. So always check the deadlines. We're also going to talk about theater minors. Theater minors is really cool because Brittany, you were almost a theater minor, but
Yes.
most schools, if yes, theater minor, you were almost a theater minor. Theater minor. Some people will go to a university or a college and they know that they love theater, or they still want to study it in some type of form. So then, but they might not know if it's for them as a career yet. So what some people might do is do it as a theater minor, or just they know they have to fill certain courses to get whatever degree they're pursuing, and they'd like to fill it with something that they're passionate about. So theater minors. Many schools offer them, even those that don't allow other majors to take some elective courses. Incorporating theater into your college experience while majoring in something else. What else? Also, just making sure you check the website. Check the website. Check the website. Check the website.
Yes.
I think that's kind of all for theater minors. Oh, I will say one thing about theater minors is that if you enroll in a theater minor program, you might not be able to get into the courses that are typically offered for the major. So always check the website.
Yes, that's one of the reasons why I didn't end up going with a theater minor, because I wanted to be able to take the more exciting acting classes and dive deeper into, the acting curriculum. So that's definitely something to consider when you're making your decision. And then, so you've got the theater minor, you've got your BFA, you've got your AA, but then you also have master degree programs. So you've got the MFA, which is a Master of Fine Arts, and that's more specialized in performance or production. Then you've got a Master of Arts, the MA, which is usually more academic in nature. You might even have to do some research. And then you've got the PhD, which is usually in theory, history, and criticism. So like if you want to teach theater on the college level, this might be the track that you might want to go on.
And then, so non-college options for theater training. So say a 4-year degree program isn't exactly what's for you, then you can go to a conservatory program that might be 2 years. It focuses on skills in specialized areas of training. So if it's acting, it might be specifically like your studio-based performance. If it's theater technician in that area, then it might be specifically getting hands-on, working on shows, apprenticing with one of the faculty of that conservatory program. It can offer a little bit more flexibility, I will say. Financial aid may not be available, and these programs can often be very expensive. Most are for-profit institutions, so do your research and speak with college counselors, talk to friends if you know, or friends, mentors, classmates, anyone that studied at a conservatory program or that's gone to a university and studied. Talk to many people that if you're connected to, that's the best way to know about the school. Many of these theater-related jobs still require a college degree, so some college theater programs are conservatory style and can offer a similar experience with a degree attached. So this can be the best of both worlds, potentially.
So with all that information, now you want to think about, okay, what program is right for me? So here are a few things that you might want to consider. Artistic interest. What interests you as an artist? What kind of art are you attracted to? What, gets you excited? And is that school producing that kind of work or training you to do that kind of work? Your professional goals. Do you see yourself as a performer? Do you see yourself doing straight plays, musical theater? Do you see yourselves behind the scenes as a stage manager? Do you like to organize and sort of make sure that the room, be able to kind of control the room and make sure that things are flowing? What kind of job do you see yourself in within the theater industry? And then what program would prepare you for that job? Financial considerations. How much does the school cost? How much are you going to be able to pay? Are you going to have to pay out of pocket? Do you have to come, find grants? those are things you got to consider when it comes to the money, which is important. Faculty, who works in that department? What do they teach? How do they teach? See if you can find out from other students, former students, current students, like what are the faculty like? Are they diverse? Do you enjoy, what it is that they teach? The curriculum. Are you interested in what it is that they're teaching? A lot of theater programs are, or a lot of, I'll speak specifically for the BFA, like acting and musical theater program. A lot of those programs are specifically tailored to stage performers. Do you want more on-camera experience? That's something to consider when it comes to the curriculum as well. And then, of course, networking opportunities. Are you going to be able to get to know people in the industry and make those professional connections so that once you graduate school, or even while you're in school, you'll have, you can say, hey, can I send you my resume? Can I get into this summer stock opportunity? Can I maybe read for this audition and just be a reader for you? And find those networking opportunities. Will your school, whatever school it is that you're looking for, afford you all of those opportunities and cater to your interests?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And then most importantly, Isaiah.
Yeah, just based on that, it's definitely important to figure out like what are you looking for. So definitely do your research early. It can be a bit complicated, but definitely looking at that website, even though we've said it a million times, and talking to people that or if you can get connected to professors or just anyone that that's either studied theater or worked in the theater, and like what is their experience, and just talk to a variety of things. Look up things on YouTube, interviews, or almost like make an Excel sheet of like actors or like artists that you like, and if you can look up like where they studied and where they went to school, and let's see if that can be a means. Yeah. Okay. All right. And most importantly, when you're coming down to applying, auditioning, and doing your portfolio reviews and interviews, and when you get accepted, the most important thing, and this is the most important thing, is to make sure that you feel respected by the company and community that you're about to enter, feeling respected, valued, and inspired. And for me, that means getting up every day and knowing that people not only see me, but they see all of me. And what does it mean to be me? And that's respected. And it's not just tolerated, but it's appreciated and it's sourced upon. And they all flow together, being valued and not being tokenized, and just knowing that people value what you have to say and your input, and they value the different environments and stimulus that we all have, because we're all unique. We're all human beings. It's such a beautiful and complex thing that we are. And so we bring so many different things to the table. And so it's definitely important to make sure that when you come to a community that's trying to collaborate and teach art, that you do feel valued, and that your faculty and your classmates, they inspire you to do better. You inspire them to do better. That's definitely one of the three big pillars for me in regards to why I picked my school. Yeah. And then I think on that note, do we think it's time for some panels? Okay. All right. So we're going to get to our equity in college access panel. We're really excited just to have this panel. We have a fantastic panel for our equity in college access. So first up, from the faculty at Borough of Manhattan Community College, we have Miss Felicia Harrelson.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Okay, I was wondering if you could hear me in these things. Okay, hi.
Ooh, okay, I think my sound might be a little bit iffy. Let me
You're
see
all
what I
good.
can do.
And then next up from, we've got a Broadway actress and representative of Broadway Advocacy Coalition, Amber Iman. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So many beautiful faces. And then I'll just continue bringing everyone in while Isaiah is sorting out his technical difficulties. We've got NYU grad and former producer of Home Base, a student-run festival uplifting Black artists. We've got Saren Monet West. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. And then last but not least, we've got Daphne Secray, faculty at Loyola Marymount. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, okay. It's not here just yet, and that's perfectly fine. We'll just we'll continue on. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. We have an audience of young people who are primarily Black, Indigenous, people of color who are interested in studying theater in college. So we're really excited for you guys to sort of speak to, you know, your experience working for these programs, being a student of these programs. And yeah, so I guess my first question is, how has your personal experience informed the way you perceive college performing arts programs? And anyone can take that.
Well, I'll go. So I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And I went to a double magnet performing arts school for high school, which was like math and science and arts. And it was a predominantly white high school. And I was the token. I was one of the only, if the only Black girl at the time when I was studying there. And I remember there was a very specific incident that kind of shaped the way I prepared for college. I was called into the principal's office, and like I was a straight A student, so I was really concerned. And they called me in because they had been watching my progression as an actor over the past 4 years. And I had played a witch in Macbeth, and I had played one of the three urchins in Little Shop of Horrors. And I had done, I think we were about to do Boys from Syracuse. And I was playing a role that was a maid. And great role, great songs, great everything, auditioned for it. It was the role that I wanted. And they said they were worried that the community would think that they were racist because they were casting me in roles that seemed subservient. So they were going to remove me from that role and put me in a different role. Not that it fit me, not that it would challenge me as a student, not that it was the best role for my voice, but because it would make them as an institution look less racist to the people who were investing in them as an organization. And I was a senior at that time, and I was drinking the Kool-Aid of going to a white school, and I wanted to go to Northwestern. Me and my white girlfriend, we were going to go to Northwestern and study. And my mother at the time was trying to get me to go to an HBCU. And I was like, I don't know who goes to those schools. I was just so gone. But after being in a room of white people who were literally like, no, we're going to take this role from you because it makes us look racist, I was like, yeah, I don't think I can take another 4 years of this. I remember telling my high school drama teacher that I wanted to go to Howard, and he didn't even understand, couldn't even fathom why that was something that I wanted to do. And it helped me realize how much ignorance there was around me, just lack of knowledge and information and education. Just the white people who were in charge of my education had no idea about what it was for me to be a young Black girl who wanted to study theater. They didn't know anything about Black artists, Black institutions. They didn't know anything. And they were sending me down the path that they thought was best because it was the only path that they knew. And I remember after that moment, my mom was like, yeah, let's go visit some schools. And I went to Howard, and I was like, as a Black woman growing up in Atlanta, only knowing Black things, it was like a reculture shock. It was like, oh, you remember this. Oh, okay. Black people being excellent. Okay, you just needed a reminder. And I can say that going to Howard University was one of the best decisions I ever made, because I was surrounded by people who cared for me as a human being first, who cared for my well-being, who cared for my growth, who cared that I was challenged, who cared that I knew who I was, knew what skills I brought to the table, what talents I had, and just invested in me as a whole Black woman first. And after the 4 years, I'm out now, and I teach a lot of voice lessons, and I teach a lot of master classes. And I deal with a lot of students who come to me, honestly, not needing help tapping into their instrument or being better singers, but literally deprogramming 4 years of white people telling them what they couldn't do. Like, I feel so silly saying that I teach voice because I literally feel like a therapist. I'm surprised at people spending money to allow people to tell them what they can't do or shouldn't do or what they don't think is possible for them. It blows my mind to see that, wow, y'all paid somebody hundreds of $1,000s to not care for you or about you. So I'm just really championing people going places where you are going to be cared for and loved and cared about, and someone is going to invest in you as a person, as an artist, as a Black artist, as a young artist. It just makes sense to me that wherever you go, wherever you are looking to go, it's just somewhere that they have your best interest at heart. So I'm not telling everybody to go to Howard. That's not what I'm saying. But it just has shaped the way that I think about these institutions that we put on certain pedestals because of the names and the legacy that they carry. But it's like, but what are you really getting from these institutions?
I think that's such an important, message for anyone who's entering. Because I remember, when I was looking at schools, I didn't do theater when I came in. I was new to everything. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm open to anything. But then after being in the program for a few years, you start to notice those little things of like, okay, I'm not, they're not considering me as the whole person. There's other experiences that I have that aren't, that are dissimilar to the majority of my peers in my acting classes that aren't being considered. And that I feel like I can't even fully bring forth in the classroom and in a scene study class, because I'm not even using material. I'm not working on material that's like caters to Black people or with a Black character or that has some kind of Black experience in it. So yeah, that's super important. I hope everybody who's watching took that in. And I guess we'll just move on to the next question, unless anybody wanted to.
Can I just say
yes, please.
One thing? I did just graduate from NYU grad acting, which was like a really incredible experience. But I did go to an undergrad that is almost exactly like what Amber is talking about. That's like very white and very focused on they had a really strong musical theater program, and that's like I wanted to go there for musical theater. I didn't get in. I ended up getting into the BFA acting program, which was actually just like a huge blessing because that department opened up more opportunities for me to actually be a transformational actor and to actually transform out of the Black girl who sings or the one who riffs or like I was also a doo-wop girl in my first show at OCU. I was like, this is just not it. Like the one thing that I think was really hard about that was, or that the benefit of that was that it cultivated my focus and allowed me to kind of blur out the noise so that I could focus on the type of training that I wanted, whether they saw that from me or not, and the type of resilience that came from me doing that, from the only other Black girl in my entire program doing that. The two of us together always got called back for the same roles over and over and over again. We could not be more different as people. And so I think sometimes these schools will be like, oh, the brown person or the Black person or like the this or the that, they like want to type you in this thing that they think is successful. And I think it's really important, especially in these interviews, to challenge that, to say, like Brittany, you just said, like, what are you doing to strengthen your repertoire of plays so that I'm not going out for the same role that every other Black girl in this program is going out for, but that I'm actually seen? Like, what work, actually challenging the administration, like, what work are you doing in order to better understand what it means to have a Black body and to be a Black body in a predominantly white space? Like, don't shy away from those questions because, it may be scary to bring up, especially when you're like, oh, this is my whole life. But it's really important to ask them those questions because more times than not, people are too scared to ask those questions. And so if you ask those questions, you may not get the answer that you want. You may get back an answer that feels like, oh, like I was wrong for asking that question, but you're not. If anything, that's just not the school for you. Don't go to that school if you feel like they are not actually able to differentiate you from the 7 other Black people at that school, or hopefully more than that, That's all. That's all.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. Hi,
I'm so sorry I'm late, but I'll give you an example I'll tell you why I'm late, and I'll give you all an example as to why it's important. So I'm just coming off of a panel here at Loyola Marymount with professors, and we were critiquing syllabi. And we were looking at anti-racist practices, and we were critiquing if the syllabi were anti-racist or not. They weren't. And so they had myself and they had other professors, right? So I share this with you. They kept, I was like, I have to go to another panel. And so I'm so sorry that I'm late, but it's that kind of stuff that you want to look for in an institution, and not that it just started this year, that they've been doing that kind of work. And you can go to their faculty pages and see what workshops they're doing for other faculty. And that has nothing to do with theater, but you want to see that. You want to see what trainings professors are getting. What discussions are they having? You know, beyond the season, you want to dig deep in those things. And I have a personal experience story, not theater related, but in the realm of the same thing of like asking these questions. I was applying for grad schools in grad school in New York City. It was for history. And I asked them the percentage of Latinx and the percentage of Black students in the department. And the professor looked at me and said, he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, yes, I would like to know how many Black students you have in the graduate department. And I'd like to know how many Latinx students you have. And he was like, well, why are you so interested in this? And I looked at him and I was like, well, I'm a Latina. And if I'm going to be studying, I was going to go study history. And if I'm studying history, I would like to be in spaces with people that look like me so we can engage in conversations about these things. And don't forget that theater also has a whole like theater history. So when you're looking at programs, it's not just about acting. It's like, what theater history courses are being taught? Do they have, you know, Black theater courses? Do they have Black US theater courses? Do they have courses on African theater? Do they have courses like those kind of things? And yes, there are in universities undergraduate programs that offer those courses for undergraduates. You do not have to wait to go to your MFA to take a class in Black theater. And if you do, that's problematic. And so again, finding these kind of courses and these things. And I remember I turned to this man and I said to him, I was like, well, I'm Latina. I was like, and I explained this. And then his answer to me was, but you speak so eloquently. And I looked at this man and I was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, excuse me? I was like, are you trying to imply that Latinos cannot speak English? I was like, because clearly I'm speaking in English. And he was like, and this is a department chair saying this to me. And so again, it wasn't a theater program, but very problematic, because this also happens in theater programs. When you enter spaces and they judge you because of the way that you speak, they judge you because you have an accent. But I think, again, it's so funny because if you're from Boston, you have an accent. If you're from Texas, you have an accent, and that's not a problem. But then you enter these spaces and all of a sudden the way that you normally speak is an accent. If it's not an accent class, a dialects class, why are you judging me in the way that I speak and I perform? So again, all of these kinds of questions, ask them. And if they get uncomfortable and they can't answer them, just like what was just said, you don't want to go there. That's it.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for saying that. You don't have to go to PWI or go to grad school to get course to take courses and learn about yourself through theater, to learn about Black theater, Latinx theater, Asian theater. So that very much just got me really riled up. Like, thank you for saying that. I have another question, if that's all right with everyone else. It's in regards to what things should BIPOC students be looking forward to when applying and auditioning? If any of you have any advice for young BIPOC students about that.
I'm so sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you repeat that question?
Oh, sure. My apologies. My question.
No, it
My
depends.
question is, we have a lot of like young BIPOC students like on viewing in, streaming in, and what recommendations would you have for them when they are applying to schools and looking at schools, and once they've kind of matriculated a list, when it comes to like auditioning, like, what advice would you have for the students?
I think look at what is presented to you. Look at the list of shows that they've done in the past 5 years. If it's you're in town and our town and their town, you don't want to go to that town. You know what I'm like? People will show you who they are. And if you don't want to believe it when they tell you, I mean, what do you want? Look at the website. Is every picture the same 3 Black people that they pulled from the cafeteria? Look at what they present to you. Look at you also have to be aware of those like buzzwords. You know, if they're throwing around that diversity and inclusion a little too much, you know that there's a reason for that. It shouldn't have to be like a thing that's presented to you. It should just be a part of the foundation of their lexicon, of their vocabulary. You can tell when people are putting on to try and pull you in. You can tell the difference between genuine, like, I care about you, and like, well, let me tell you about all the Blacks that you know what that feels like. You know what that feels like in your chest. I think a lot of it, it's always just like, listen to your heart, listen to your spirit, listen to your energy. You know when something is wrong. And a lot of it for a lot of young students is divorcing yourself from the idea of what you thought it should be. Like, we look at certain schools that have certain names attached, and it's just like, you have to understand when you just really want to go to that school because that's where Billy Porter went. I'm just using Billy as a name because I love him. But there's certain things that like we associate so-and-so went to this school and I want to go to that school because that's where they went. And it's like, but if you actually sat down and talked to Billy or talked to some of these people, they would tell you that their experiences are not what you want. We just put these certain names and institutions on certain pedestals because of their legacy, but we have not actually had conversations with those people to say, well, what was your experience? Were you cared for? One of my professors, he's passed away, Reggie Ray, he told me, you're going to go out the way that you came in. Like, people think college turned you magically into like somebody talented. Like, what you have when you go in is pretty much how you're going to go out. School is like a grocery store. You're walking down the aisle and it's just giving you, oh, maybe I'll take a little Stanislavski today. Oh, maybe I can use a little Meisner, maybe use a little Alexander technique. It's just giving you different ways to think about performance. It's giving you different things to practice, different tools to put in your toolbox. But a school is not going to turn you into something that you are not. So you have to just ask questions, listen to the answers to the questions, and see who is in these rooms, look at the words that they're using in the syllabi. It's just listen. That's the biggest thing I would say, is because they're going to tell you who they are. And only if you're willing to listen and hear what they say, that's going to be the trick for you. It's really quite simple.
And to piggyback on what Amber has said, again, hi, Daph. To piggyback on that, it's important that you do your research, which you have said. You said that you will say it 100 times in this, but it's true. You need to see what shows were they doing before you got there. They're usually shows posted. You can see, are they doing original works or devised things? What's happening? Are you, as she said, which town are you doing? Our town, which was fantastic. But pay attention to those shows, okay? Because it lets you know who's being catered to in those situations. So that's just another thing that you can look forward to.
And who's being cast in those shows too. Because, when they hired me at my institution, I asked to do In the Heights, and before they hired me, they thought it was going to be In the Whites. That's really what they thought it was going to be. And, everyone, students of color were like, why are they doing this? It's going to be In the Whites. The white students are going to get cast in the show because that has been the experience. But they didn't know that I was coming to this institution and that was not going to happen. And so I, as a faculty member, I'm finding myself having to teach my own faculty what they need to do to recruit and retain and not cause harm to to BIPOC students. Because they have a tradition of always picking the same students for the shows. And so even when they have a plethora of white students to pick from, the same white students are the ones that are continuously on stage as well. And that's also problematic, because if the same white students are on stage all the time, you know that you're definitely not going to get on stage. So that's really important. So look at your professors. You have the internet at your incredible, beautiful disposal. Research each one of these professors. Myself, when I was looking for jobs, I looked at universities and I was like, I don't want to work there. The entire faculty is white. I don't want to work there. I don't want to work there. I was like, because I know what I'm going to have to do, and I don't want to teach all these white people. I'm like, no, I'm coming to teach students, not to teach faculty members. And so look at the faculty, look at who they're hiring, who they've been hiring, who they no longer have. One of the things that departments are starting to do right now is they're starting to create season manifestos. So if a department is starting to create not just a statement, after we see You White American Theater released its demands. So not just a statement. What are they doing beyond this statement? Are they now changing their syllabi? Have they created an additional web page with resources? Are they changing their, and again, look at the history of what has happened before and what are they actually putting forth to create the change. And I love this notion of looking at the last 5 years, because that'll tell you a lot. 10 is too much, because in 5 years, lots of things can shift and they can bring in and people can get fired. But for example, the year they hired me, they also hired another Latinx professor. So they brought in 2 faculty of color, and that never happens to an institution. And so all of a sudden, it changes dynamics of what happens behind closed doors that you as students don't see. And so that, again, look at the faculty that they're bringing in and look at their bios, look at what they're doing, Google them, research them, see, you might have so-and-so's name might be huge, but are they accessible to you as well? Because your school might have a graduate program, and yes, so-and-so might teach there, but you're never going to see that person because their name is so big that, even that's someone that you emulate that looks like you're never going to have access to that person. And so again, this notion of researching the shows and the faculty is really critical as well.
What I would also say is, as I founded an all-Black theater collective at my undergrad, and I also ended up producing for the Home-Based Theater Collective, which is a coalition of NYU Juilliard and Columbia on the master's level. And I think it's important. I mean, as an undergrad, I created that program because it was always the same Black and brown kids who were not getting cast every time. Like I said, me and my one other classmate, it was me or her every show, me or her, me or her. And 9 times out of 10, I was playing a witch or an older woman or something that was just not right for me. It's cool, that's the lead, but also she is 90 years old. So why am I in old age when I'm literally 20 years old? I think it's important to take a look at not only what the other students are creating, but what support the faculty is providing for those types of programs for people who don't necessarily fit the status quo, and making sure that there is support once you leave the school. My undergrad was, they auditioned, I think 400 performing arts majors, and then selected 16 people to do a showcase in New York. 16. That's not that many. So making sure that you've got pathways outside of the school, asking whether or not they have institutionalized mentorship programs, actual institutionalized, how much of the budget are they dedicating to making sure that the faculty know the people that they're letting into the school. So if this school only has room for a token, why are you letting in 8 people? Because then 7 of them are not going to get to work, and all of them are paying full price tuition. I think also another thing is get your money, get your money, get your money, get your money. If you are going to a school that's maybe not your top choice, you shouldn't be paying top choice money. In fact, I really think tuition should be free for everybody who's Black and brown, but that, I'm not there yet to be making those calls. But I absolutely think you should be getting as much money as possible and be able to actually point out all of the holes that you can see within the fabric of the institution, so that you're not then paying the cost financially or emotionally. It's important for you to be able to feel just as safe as your white counterparts. And there are institutional changes that need to happen that sometimes don't necessarily happen over the course of 4 years. So I also think it's really important to just pay special attention to the ways to see if they can actually articulate the ways in which the institution has changed on like a small scale as well as a broad scale. Like a manifesto is great, but just like other folks have said, like the finite changes are really the ways that you will feel the difference as a student from someone who went to the institution 4 years before. So actually being able to ask about the more, like the minutia is like important too. And I also think when you're picking your pieces, making sure that you pick pieces that are not necessarily like your audition pieces that are not necessarily like, oh, everyone does Romeo and Juliet and I have to have a Shakespeare. Like actually choose pieces that speak to who you are as a person. And that may be like, I don't know, it could be anything, but find things that are interesting to you artistically and not necessarily that fit the framework for what you think everybody else is doing. Like definitely, and when you're writing your essays, like speak from the heart. Like they're don't get caught up in like, oh, well, they want me to be this, so let me be that. Like actually just be you, because that is going to be your opportunity to let them see you and let them in on who you really are. And it's going to give you a better sense of like bravery and agency over your experience when you're in that school, because you know you got in for you and not because like, oh, I'm really good at this one front. And like, look, like, look, this is the front, like, let me into your school. And then you get in, it's like a bait and switch. So just like really, really speak from the heart and risk being seen in your glory. I think that's really important.
So many gems.
Yes, like so many.
So many gems.
Like all of you, I love this panel. Your minds. Oh, I just
I'm
want to give
sitting
you all
here
a
writing,
hug.
just like-
Yes. I want to give you all hugs. Like, oh my goodness, like the beauty and everything that you all are speaking. Thank you so much. Like, I feel so nourished. Oh my.
Yes.
I guess we're coming down to some of our last questions. In regards to like all these institutional things that you all have been talking about, if any of you feel that you can share, like what are some things that organizations that you know that are doing like great work and that are addressing these institutional systems that we've kind of been working through specifically in higher education, or it can be the theater, or just in any way that's involving your work and your art.
I think I got what you said. It's a little shaky, but I think I got what you said. Well, I'm a member of, I co-founded Broadway Advocacy Coalition, and we've worked to bridge the gap between activism and artivism, but in this gap of Broadway and gap of time and space, we held a symposium a couple months back addressing you poor kids who have to go back to schools and institutions where it was racist before you left, and it probably is going to be racist when you go back. And just trying to give students the tools and the knowledge that they need to be able to speak up for themselves. Because I feel like we have to be realistic about things. You know, racism was embedded in the foundation of a lot of these institutions. Like a George Floyd video in 6 months is not going to change much, period. And so I think when we go back, we have to have the expectation of, okay, everyone's aware now. That's the one thing that has changed, is that there is a grand awareness, and everyone is going to be very careful about what they say, how they say it, and who they say it to. But it's not going to be perfect. And there's a lot of work that is still needed. There's a lot of work to do. And so I know BAC has been very integral in providing themselves as like, look, if you need something, hit us up. We will give you access to all the resources that we have. We will help you know, okay, if I go to school and this happens, what are the next steps that I need to take? Who do I need to talk to? What vocabulary do I need to use? Because there are certain buzzwords that people hear, and then they know that you're serious, and they know they need to get their stuff together. So we've been very much like, DM us, email us, whatever you need, we will get back back to you within 24, 48 hours, put you in contact with people who can help you. Because a lot of times we understand your students and you're young and you don't always want to put yourself out there in that way because you know your scholarship is real. And if some stuff goes down, you don't have the money to support yourself or to advocate yourself in the way that you need to. So it's fine. Let somebody like me who's a loudmouth, who ain't going back to school and ain't worried about nothing, let me step in on your behalf. I'm glad to cuss anybody out who needs to be cussed. So Broadway Advocacy Coalition is definitely doing everything we can to be like an intercessory. Coney Raynard Richard started a scholarship program for people who want to study stage management and do the more administrative things. And we want to make sure we aren't just leaving students out there like, here's the money, now go have fun. So we are trying to do everything we can now to establish relationships with the musical theater students, it's schools and students, some of the big ones, some of the small ones. We want to get into all of them. We want to start opening up relationships with schools. We want to start having more artists go into those schools, just letting our presence be known. Y'all can't just get away with doing anything anymore just because you thought you could. So it's going to take a while for us to get where we want to go, but we are an organization that is starting to do that, just starting to open up those conversations and relationships between artists in residence, the Audra McDonalds, and those people. We need to show up in schools and say, hey, I'm here. Let's have a conversation. So yeah, I advocate for BAC doing everything we can just to start opening those doors.
One thing that I would also say, I know it's just like a short little thing, but I would also say it's so simple. But like when I went to school, undergrad and grad school, I didn't know that I could just walk into my teachers' classrooms and talk with them and create like allyships in that way before there was a fire. So then when there's a fire, I'm like, oh, how come you're, and why isn't this, and how could this continue? How could this be the way that it is? It's a lot easier to catch bees with honey than vinegar. And so I know that it can be really intimidating to go into these, to try to build relationships with people who have completely different backgrounds from you and who maybe have completely different walks of life than you, but to actually go in and create a pathway for dialogue makes it a lot easier when there is a fire to say like, hey, the way that you talked about this in class made me feel unsafe because X, Y, and Z, versus letting that conversation be the first conversation y'all are ever having. So like, yeah, I just didn't, no one had ever told me that when I went to school, and it would have made things a lot easier. It would have made me feel more comfortable having the tough conversations than I did in actuality.
I want to say you are absolutely right. Like when I first moved to New York and I signed with my agent, somebody said, take a girlfriend, y'all got the same agent, take a dozen donuts and just go sit up in the office and talk. Like just on some nothing bad has happened. We just want to get to know you as a human being. It opens up a dialogue. It opens up a channel of trust so that when it pops off, it's like, all right, Diane, we already got that channel open. You know what I'm saying? Like as students, get a couple friends, go and just show up at the dean's office. Like you are paying money. You are paying money. These people are working for you. Go and say, hi, I am a sophomore. This is what I'm studying. And I just want to get more information about the institution that I am paying hundreds of $1,000s to. It is that is what we should all be doing. It's about creating community, because at the end of the day, it's the community and the conversation that we need more of. So yes, go sit in their office, take you some donuts and learn a couple things. Seriously.
There's a lot of us who are, BIPOC faculty in a lot of these institutions who are doing the work, and we have our doors are open and we want you to come in. And sometimes we don't even know that you're there, especially when you have schools with like 300 majors. We don't know. Unless you do some massive stalking, which I do, by the way. I literally stalk all of my professors' classes to see who they're teaching, to see who the students are, and I email them. And they think I'm absolutely insane. But then when they get to know me, they're like, yeah, that's Secret. That's just who she is. She's a little crazy. But also, these sort of spaces of trying to be like, so that a student knows, like, hi, I'm not your teacher, but know that I'm teaching here, know that my door is open, know that there's some of us here advocating for you. We are trying to do this work, and we need you as students as much as, like, we need you. We need your voices, we need your talent, we need your ideas, we need your thoughts, and we're here because we want to be here for you as well. And so if you enter these spaces and they're not friendly, that's a flag right there. So even before you get to take a professor's class, getting to know who they are, walking into their office hours. I love it when a student is like, I had a student last semester knock on my door and be like, hi, Professor Secret, I hear that you are directing in the Heights. And I said, yes. And she says, I'd like to be your assistant director. And I was like, you would? She's like, yes. I was like, have you ever assistant director? She's like, no. Have you taken this directing course? No. I was like, all right. I still gave her the position, and she was still my assistant director. And why? Because she walked into my office and said, I want to be your assistant director. And I sat there in complete awe, and I was like, yes, 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 yes. And we have this relationship. She's now one of my undergraduate assistants. So I get to pay her to do research. I get to do all of these incredible things with her. We're going to publish an article together. And so again, like all of these things that I wouldn't have known. Like I didn't even know. She was a minor too. She's not even a major. So that's another thing. And so like had she not entered my space and had that courage, I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with her. And so she's getting paid to do stuff and all of these things. And so we have access to things. Don't be afraid to walk into our doors during our office hours and finding out. And even as you're looking at schools, you can reach out to professors. Like I love it when I have a student who does not go there and it's like, hi, I heard about you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, they heard about me. It makes me feel special. So like seriously, reach out to people, and I love what y'all just said of like, well, yes, please come to my classroom. Come say hi, even if I don't teach you. Come get to know who I am, because I'm gonna be there to be advocating for you. Because at the end of the day, these professors need to know who you are, because they pick scholarships. So when they don't know students, if these professors don't know you, they're not going to pick you for scholarships. They're not going to pick you for awards. They're not going to pick you for programs. And then the same students get picked over and over and over. And so the more they get to know who you are, the more opportunities and the more money you're going to get. And it's critical. And I also say, look at programs that have access. If they don't have a student club specifically for you, for like BIPOC students or Black students, create one. Find out if there's the funding for it, because there's money not within the department, but there's money within the institution for you to create them, so that you can create those spaces and have those special spaces. And again, like I look at my institution, and it took me coming into creating a space like that with a student. And so it's like, how have we not had this? And this institution is how many years old, and you didn't have a space for students of color? And it took bringing in, like, this is mind blowing. And so looking at all those little details of what's going to make your experience, and y'all are absolutely right. Like your money's worth, because at the end of the day, you're going to walk out, and if you didn't get a full ride, you're going to be in debt. So you got to want to make sure that you're taking as much as possible.
Sorry, I thought someone else said something. Yep, but representation matters. Representation matters. Representation matters, and not just in your student body, but most importantly within your faculty, because it takes like all of that. It takes not even just a student in the building, but the fact that that student was a minor, so meaning that they're not getting the typical attention that a BFA student or even a BA student would typically get. So I don't know a student personally, but sending props and love to them and strength to them, because that takes a lot of courage and strength too. I'm in my senior year at Syracuse, and my sophomore year, I had participated in a search committee to fill a tenure track position, and I was able to work on this committee and make sure that that professor was teaching acting, teaching on-camera acting. It was also really important for me that it wasn't a white person, that it was who it either looked like me or had a similar experience to me. And so, and it does institutional work because that professor now has taken so much of the charge of decolonizing the syllabus, decolonizing the practice, asking the questions to the faculty at large and the culture of the department, of my department, of what type of learning environment do we want to foster? You know, when people leave this grocery store, what type of review are they leaving on Yelp? You know, are they satisfied with the goods and the product that we're offering? So thank you all for that you do. Thank you to any all artists that are working in higher education specifically and uplifting young Black, Brown, and Indigenous students of color, for sure.
Absolutely. We have time for 2 questions from our audience. So audience members, if you guys have any questions, you can pop them in now and we'll have our panelists, our wonderful panelists, answer. Let's see if anybody takes the bait.
Yeah, I'm checking to see if we have any questions.
Yeah. We've also got a list of questions from students as well that we can use, but if nobody answered.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll just go through some of the questions that we have here.
Sure.
So what are some plays and playwrights you recommend by Black and other POC writers?
Woo, I'll try to throw quick ones out there. Anna Devere Smith, Dale Orlander Smith, Lydia Diamond, Jacqueline Bio, Terrell Alvin McCraney, Danye Love. I try to think of young up and coming too. Jordan Cooper, Aziza Barnes. That's a chunky list. Somebody else. We all know August Wilson, so you know.
Anyone else have any recommendations? Or did she just list the bulk of the good ones? Alrighty, we can move on to the next question, no problem. What should I do if I experience racism in my college theater program?
I want one of the faculty members to answer that one.
Steph, I'm looking at you for that one. Well, certainly have an ally in the department, have an ally, but most often, if you're at a PWI, those are sometimes a little harder if you don't feel like you connect with someone, but you always have a voice, which everyone has said today. Always take up space, always speak up. Often it's good to go to the chair, by means of having a person to connect with, right? Someone who connects to everyone in the department and talk this out. They have a responsibility to hear you. You can put anything that you need to put in writing, okay? But this can also be taken to other levels, but as a first point of contact, as a first point of reference, you can do that. I don't know if all departments have deputy chairs. I don't remember. I work at a 2-year school, so I'm a deputy chair, but oftentimes it starts there. If it starts with a deputy chair, it's easier to get an audience with that person. But I don't remember that in a 4-year school and beyond. But definitely, you might want to add to that in terms of
take those steps. Like if you can't say and have that conversation, as it was mentioned earlier, with the faculty member, like if you can't sit down with the faculty member and say, what you said today is a microaggression, let me explain to you, or what you said today is racist or is offensive. If you can't have that conversation with the professor, because it might just not be safe for you, the chair is definitely the next step and that you want to go to. Also, there is always a Title IX office, and to not be afraid to go to that office and to not be afraid to file a claim. Also, there is power in numbers. And so when you can have multiple accounts of multiple students backing you up or multiple experiences, you start to begin to create it's not just about you as an individual, it becomes about what has happened. Because if that individual said that in the classroom and it didn't just hurt you, but hurt a whole bunch of other people, then it all of a sudden becomes an account of people in the classroom. And so again, being able to document it, power in numbers, going to go see the chair, going to go see Title IX, and documentation is critical for professors. The more you can document, the better. I will be very transparent and say that it's really hard to get rid of tenure track professors. It's hard. But there's always ways of doing X, Y, and Z, and, doing what you got to be doing and standing up and, and speaking your word. And right now I am seeing there are departments where I'm seeing students that are walking out. Students are walking out and they're saying, no more. We're not putting up with this. And they're walking out of their classes. And that says a lot. And so, there is so much power. And I will share that Broadway Advocacy has a whole webpage of resources. And so, what you can be doing. And a lot of students right now, you can follow what Broadway Advocacy has on their page, and they're talking about how to conduct your own listening sessions. So if your chair isn't willing to conduct a listening session, how do you conduct one? And let me tell you, start conducting those sessions, especially now on Zoom, their faculty is going to have to pay attention to that stuff. And in this past couple of months, the amount of beautiful power that I've seen students take an ownership, and if their department wasn't doing what needed to be done, and they kept experiencing X, Y, and Z, and and entering spaces that are racist, students have started getting together. They've been writing letters. They've been signing letters, multiple students. They've been creating their own sessions. And, you don't want the press to get a hold of those things. And when they do, all of a sudden it's like all of this builds and escalates. So there are many avenues for you to be able to start talking about these things. And if it's, it really starts like, is it a one-off that someone said something in class that you can have a conversation with them? Maybe they're not conscious of it. And it was their bias or their, the racism. And then they realize and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. I'm so sorry. That's very different than if someone in class is actually doing something that is harmful and hateful and really destroying at the core of who you are. And there's way too many theater departments, unfortunately, across this country where that has happened to way too many students. But students are saying no more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh, we have one question. I know we kind of have to go, but do we have one last question? And this is from an actual audience member. What advice would you give to someone who hasn't been to college yet and wants to go for theater? Can maybe have two of you answer it briefly, one or two. Anyone can jump in.
Go work hard. I mean, go and work hard, sis. If you want it, go do it. That's really it.
And that's the word. And that is the word. I just want to say thank you again to all of our beautiful panelists. Thank you for speaking your words, speaking truth, spitting gems, dropping gems, all of that. We really do appreciate it. And I wish I had a panel like this when I was going into college. But even as someone who just graduated in May, I'm super appreciative of all of you for taking the time to be here with us. So audience members from wherever you are in your corners, give them a little round of applause, virtual round of applause. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I learned so much from this panel. Lovely getting to meet all of you. I'm so sorry that I'm having sound issues, but you all are fantastic. Yes, I can't even speak right now. I'm very much just like, oh my goodness. It's like, yes, the knowledge. Like I feel nourished. Yes, just echoing much of Brittany said. Thank you all so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alrighty, you have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Alrighty, so we just had all of that college talk. and, you know, talk about speaking your truth, about occupying space and not being afraid to speak up and whatnot. And that's all important. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of like, all right, maybe I've chosen my school, the schools that I want to apply to. What does that application process actually look like? What does the audition process look like? So we're going to get into it. So getting in, applications, auditions, and interviews. So the application process, you're going to have to complete an application process for the college or university, for each college or university that you apply to, whether that's a CUNY school, a SUNY school, a private school, a state school, doesn't matter. You have CUNY and SUNY applications, which are their own thing. Then you've got the Common App, which a lot of schools use, private universities use, and even some state schools. And then there might be other applications. Again, like Isaiah
always check the website
so many times. Yes, check the website. Then you're also going to want to research additional application requirements for specific programs. You want to check the department website, the admissions tab, admissions info on that tab, admissions or department representatives, and oh Jesus, I learned this one the hard way with Ithaca when I was applying to Ithaca. Pay attention to the deadlines. Pay attention to the deadlines because they will sneak up on you. And then there are some requirements beyond the normal applications that may include a supplemental application, additional essays or personal statements, and added application fees, although there may be fee waivers that that can apply. So again, just check that website. If you think 10 times is enough, it's probably not.
Probably not. My recommendation is to make an Excel spreadsheet and like have like a list of all the schools you're applying to, and then have like when's their deadline. And then a lot of schools, when you apply, you have like early decision, early action, and like a regular applicant pool. If you're applying for theater, whether it's going to be in performance, like musical theater, acting, dance, or if it's even technical theater, theater management, stage management, a lot of the schools will require you to apply to the institution within the early action period. So typically that deadline is like November 1st, December 1st. So they want you to have your application for the entire institution. And then they're also going to want you to have the application for a specific school. A lot of schools now are requiring almost like a, not a self-tape, what's the word? Pre-screen. A pre-screen,
which is usually kind of a self-tape depending on the school.
And so then that'll be like, okay, you have to have your application for the school in by, let's say, December 1st. And then you also have to have in like your pre-screen or your supplemental materials. Check the website. Each school is different. So just really stressing that because that will save you a lot of time and stress. Okay.
Yeah.
So now getting on to the common audition requirements. Typically, when you're auditioning for conservatory programs, the requirements, always check the website, but it's typically, if it's going to be, you have 2 monologues, 2 contrasting. This can mean a lot of things, comedic, dramatic, a certain period, but just generally, they just need to be different. They need to have a different type of energy. And that can mean a lot of things. And whatever that is, let that sink into you and find out who am I and how do I best express myself throughout a piece. So find pieces that you just find yourself in and that you can connect to the most, and let them be different and show the two, like not the two sides of you, but show the range of like where you can go and the potential. And then when we get, sometimes some schools will, if you're applying to musical theater, you will have to sing a song. Pay attention to the website. They will talk a lot about what type of song, whether they want like a classical. Typically when you're auditioning for schools, they don't want classical material because it requires an approach and a technique to it, like Shakespeare or I don't know study musical theater, but like a classical, there's an approach to it. So that's why they typically will ask you to bring in like contemporary monologues or contemporary songs from contemporary musical theater, or even songs that aren't in that don't come from a musical theater canon. Sometimes they call it like your pop rock song, or a song that like you could sing in like a cabaret, because that might be something you might be able to connect to because of the style and the way that that song was written. But always check the website. And then last is your headshot and resume. A lot of schools are looking for an 8x10 cutout of you, and then just what shows you what you look like. Yes, Brittany, give me some Vogue. Thank you. Please give me some Vogue. Give me some Vogue. That's all. So what they're looking for is just, what do you look like? They don't need to see you all dolled up. They just want to see, like, what do you look like? And even if you check some websites, depending on what school, they will say, we're not even looking for an official headshot. We just want a picture that is like current. Like, that's not from middle school, but like that's like from at least like within your high school period, that actually like shows you what you look like right now. So that's what they're looking for, just so that they can remember you when you do your audition. Who's that person in the orange shirt? We want to remember you. So they want to just have something that they can hold on to, or a file or an image, since most of these auditions be through Zoom. All right. And on our next slide, we're going to talk about finding monologues. Now, finding monologues. Finding monologues can be difficult, but they can also be really easy. It's just you take it with a grain of salt. So you're looking for something that highlights you and strengthens you as an actor. And that can mean a variety of things, whether you connect to a certain style of writing. So that's why we have all of those beautiful and wonderful playwrights listed with our previous panel. So looking through playwrights who speak to you, if you've seen theater, or if you've seen, if you know actors that you really connect to, and looking up like where they went to school, but also looking up like what things have they done. And typically most actors have a career or training in the theater, and look at what roles they've done. And so then that might be a way for you to go and look at material that you connect to. Looking at published plays, producing things that are produced in film and television. And then one of the most important things is selecting characters that are your age range. So typically age ranges are broken up like 18 through 25 is like an age range. So if that's like my age range, if I were to go to a casting director and they're like, what type of characters do you play? I play characters that are typically about 18 years old through like 25, even if I'm not 25, I'm only 22. And then when you're looking to audition, so looking for characters that are in like that like young adult in that high school era, because that's where you have those experiences. If you pick a piece that, say, the character is in their 40s or 50s, it's like, well, yes, you are an actor, and you are learning how to strengthen your craft and to bring an emotional life into someone that isn't you. But it's a bit more difficult to do that when you just simply haven't had that human experience. Acting is life, and to act, you have to live, and to live is to therefore act, is what I would say. Specifically, another note that I would say is looking for actors or looking for artists and playwrights that look like you, that are Black and Indigenous. I take this as someone who's been running and helping my department run auditions. Professors, whoever's auditioning loves to see monologues that are not typically done. And one, we want to always highlight Black, Indigenous, playwrights of color, period, across the board. But specifically, that's how you're also going to be giving professors education on non-white authors, on different perspectives. Because when you also have playwrights and writers that do represent you in your experience, it'll be easier for you to, it can't, or I'm not going to say it will, because I don't know everyone, but it might be easier for you to tap into that nuance of what that playwright is trying to convey with this story. So then other important things, read the entire script. I would say read the play 3 times. It's ritual of 3. Read the play 3 times and you will learn new things about the character, where the character is coming from, and what they're trying to achieve through the monologue. And then our last thing is memorize thoroughly. Memorize thoroughly, not in the pattern, but memorizing like, what are you trying to say? Because when you get to your audition with that professor, they might give you notes and they want to see you do the monologue a different way. So memorize the text, but don't memorize the way that you are performing. Yeah, all right, wonderful. And now auditioning tips. We're gonna hammer it in, even though it's a bit repetitive, but we wanna hammer it in. Always check the website. They talk about what they wanna see in an audition, and not just in the genre of piece, but like what they're looking for. Like some schools, like they'll say, we wanna see you, we wanna see you. So in that sense, it's really scary to go to college auditions. I did once. Brittany, you've also done it. Going to college auditions can be so scary because you feel like, oh, look, I'm walking into this room and you have like either one person or a table of people, typically critiquing you, but they want to see you. They just want to see you, and they're not trying to be exclusive. They're trying to tap into like, who is that person? Because everyone is unique. Who is that person? And how is that person
And
different from the
rooting
person?
for you.
Yes, and yes, please echo that again, Brittany. Please say it again for the people in the back.
I just said that they're rooting for you when you go in the room. Nobody wants you to fail.
Yes, I just wanted to echo that. That's like a big thing. Like they're rooting for you because they're looking for, oh, who do I want to work with? Who do I want to like give this grant to, or who do I want to like, I got this grant and like I want to do this experimental piece, or I want to go develop something, like who can I go do this with? So like professors are looking for who's next. They're not looking for a competition of like who's the next star, but they're looking for like who has like, not even like who is this person and like what type of art do they want to make? Like what is, and like what is their vision? That's what excites professors. Treat it as an opportunity to share your work of what you love.
Yes. Share your work, share yourself, speak your truth while you're in there. Just be yourself. And of course, be friendly and pleasant to everyone you interact with once you get into the room. And just treat it as an opportunity to share something that you love, as opposed to like a life or death opportunity, where you're just like everything hangs on this one chance. No, just have fun. Try to have fun as much as you can while you're preparing for the audition and during the audition itself. Now, there's also Opening Act for All will be uploading a video next week, specifically about audition tips and how to prepare for auditions. So stay tuned for that. And now when it comes to taping the auditions, here are some things that you keep in mind. Find a quiet place to film. Like my apartment's not quiet. There's a lot of vehicle noise in the background, so I might not want to tape here. So if you can find a quiet place to film, that'd be great. Also, use a plain background. They want to focus on you. So they don't want to have all of, the outside or background distractions. They want to be able to see you completely and totally. And then also make sure your face is lit. Find your light. Yes, find your light. You want to make sure that you're not in a dull place. We want to see your eyes, especially. They want to see your eyes. We act through the eyes, through the body too, but mostly through the eyes, and the voice. Okay, and then be prepared for a live video callback. Obviously, we're in a pandemic, so in-person auditions aren't safe. It's not practical right now. So you can expect you maybe send in a self-tape, but maybe if you send a self-tape as your pre-screen audition for the follow-up audition or your callback, it might be like a Zoom session. So be prepared for that. Be prepared to maybe be sitting in a waiting room for maybe an hour, and then they might all of a sudden be like, okay, you're on. So that's just another thing to expect. And then there's also the element of interviews that typically happen like right after your audition, or it's kind of like a part of your audition. So you want to find out if interviews are available or required. Check the website. You want to ask questions you have about the school and the program in the interview. And you want to show what makes you stand out. So don't be cookie cutter. Don't sort of answer the questions or answer in ways that you think will excite them. Just answer in a way that's true and authentic to you. Because at the end of the day, they want to see you, not this idea that you have of how they want you to be. And then also prepare for common interview questions like, they almost always, for me, I remember, Isaiah, you can also speak to this too. Like, did they ask you, like, where are you from? So tell us, how'd you get into acting? Like those kind of questions? Yes. So you can expect, so prepare for that. Like what kind of work excites you? Did you go to performing arts school? That kind of stuff about your background. You can anticipate that. And then there are often other program requirements, such as like if you're trying to do playwriting, screenwriting, or dramatic writing programs, you're probably going to have to submit a writing sample. They want to see what you've done. It's like a portfolio for writers. And then you've got the design and directing programs. They're going to have portfolio requirements. So if you've directed a short film, you're going to want to probably send them a link to that, or send them the video file for that. Music programs, you're probably going to have to do an audition as well. You're going to have to know how to sight read, or at least show that you can sight read to some extent, because in some music programs, they'll actually teach you how to do that. Composition. Dance programs, there will be an audition requirement. Dance programs and musical theater programs, actually. You will have to dance. And because, of course, we're in a pandemic, that'll probably be a self-tape. And then, yeah, that's probably going to be a self-tape. I doubt that they would have live auditions for dance auditions. But yes, but again, most importantly, check the program websites for all of these additional requirements, because it really does vary depending on the school that you're interested in. And shout outs again to Opening Act for All. We've got a video up about how to act a song. I watched it. It's awesome. Check it out. And then here are a few other helpful resources. If you RSVP to the event, you'll actually get these in your email. But if you didn't, you can email that little orange bubble right there, act2@openingact.org, and request some of these resources. Alrighty, so now we are excited to welcome our next panel of college representatives. Alrighty, so again, from the borough of Manhattan Community College, we've got Felicia Harrelson.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Thank you. I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with you all. I'm so very impressed with you. I am. I wish I could see you, but I love that you're doing your thing.
I'm inspired by everything you said. I'm inspired by Brittany. Everything that you in the last panel had said, just fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
It was wonderful. Absolutely. It is my pleasure. Really.
So we do have a question for you before we bring in some of the other panelists.
Sure.
Being that you do work at BMCC, and I'm sure you come across a lot of transfer students, what is the transfer process like for students who want to go to a 4-year theater program?
Oh, okay. So it's a fairly straightforward, we have a lot of articulation agreements with different schools. So with all the CUNY 4-year schools, we have articulation agreements. Those simply mean the courses that you've taken with us will transfer to their colleges. So you don't have to worry about taking a class over again that you've already taken, provided you have the grades right for the course. I think maybe it's probably B or up in a major course, and maybe C, I believe, and up for others. But it just depends on who's working the process, who's doing the process for that. And the programs, what the programs will allow. A lot of times they don't allow you to have anything below a B in your field of study. So not the worst thing in the world. You have to have a 2.0 to transfer, and you need to be able to show a transcript to go to whatever school it might be. But then there are, as I said before, these articulation agreements. So sometimes it's not within CUNY itself. Sometimes we have a program called CC Top that we do with NYU, and that's if you're interested in educational theater. So that's a way to link into there. We also have articulation agreements with Vassar. There's also a BFA, a musical theater program we have with Missouri. What is the specific? Let's see, yeah, Southeastern Missouri. Their BFA and musical theater program. So if they come each year at the end of the year, audition our students, and it is much like the process that you've described to everyone already, right? They can, they'll have to prepare a song. They tell you exactly what to prepare. A song, they do a day. Often it's been a 2-day process. So it just depends on the school, what each of them wants, but those are very general processes that you have to do. Monologue, song, and dance for that one, since it is musical theater, right? The more you can do, the more you can do. Okay.
Absolutely. I was wondering if I could ask, and you kind of already dove a little bit into this about the programs that your college offers, and like how do these programs help students and prepare them for the industry? Like for my department, it does like a showcase. Some people do like a portfolio. Just like, what are the programs? How do they prepare students for the industry to go work?
So we are so fortunate to have a smaller department, meaning we can actually nurture our students. We do get to know our students. So a lot of what was said in the first panel, knocking on those doors, you're likely to find us there. You're likely to be able to come in, speak with us. We have connections. We have a wonderful faculty, actually, that a lot of us are still working professionally. So then we have links to the outside for students who want to do other things. We have also connections. But if students want to go through other programs, we have the Center for Career Development. They help with, not headshots, I'm sorry. They help with cover letters and resumes, just in the professional sense. But this semester, actually, we have a course called The Business of the Actor, where you're able to, for that semester, learn about, here's some headshots and resumes and what's the light supposed to look like and how many bars and how do I measure bars? What's that? And getting yourself ready and prepared so that if you leave BMCC, you can go out and either act professionally if that's what you want to do. But if you want to go into another program, say to perform, you're ready for that as well.
I see.
Thank you so much, Felicia.
And then
my pleasure.
We're gonna welcome
Felicia's fine.
I would just say
let's welcome in the other panelists as well. And we'll just ask them individual questions and then we'll ask the group a question as well. So next we have Patrick Sabongi from Brooklyn College. Patrick, welcome.
You nailed the pronunciation of that. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So my question for you is, what makes your institution unique, and what makes prospective students want to choose your institution?
I think part of our strength is our student body. We have, an exceptional, diverse student body of incredible artists. And what we really try to focus on in Brooklyn College Theater Department is each artist's unique identity. The key question that we're, as part of our application process is, who are you? Who are you as an artist? Who are you as a human? And who are you as a citizen? I think what we try to encourage is for the artists to discover themselves, and we provide experiences and tools and a rigor of training that can really challenge the artist to not just follow a path that's been carved before, but to really investigate who they are and what they want to contribute and the kind of work that they want to move towards. So it's not a prescriptive pattern of training. It's more a series of creative experiences that really try to cultivate the individual at the center of it.
So not so cookie cutter. That's what I'm
Not
hearing.
so cookie cutter. And what we're really trying to focus on is cultivating creative experiences outside of just the production season that's been handed down by the department. We really try to encourage students to explore their own forms of expression. We have very robust collaborations with the Fierstein Graduate School of Cinema. We have a dedicated website called brooklynbackstage.com, which is designed to encourage collaborations between filmmakers and directors and our actors, as well as our designers. And we try to encourage them to collaborate with the MFA playwriting program and other student organizations that are also creating work. That way they can explore their creativity beyond the 8 or 9 main stage productions that the production hands down to them each year.
Right. That's amazing. I'm going to welcome in our next panelist. We've got Ken Goldstein from SUNY New Paltz. Welcome.
welcome.
How are you today? Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. So my question to you is, how do these programs help students prepare to work in the industry?
It's a great question. And I think there are a couple of fundamental ways, right? I mean, I think what our program really tries to do is nurture the artist and the voice of the individual. And I think we do it in a broad-based kind of liberal arts approach because we're a BA program. In other words, everybody has a foundation in what the theater is and what the theater, more importantly, can be, and what we can sort of evolve through our own artistic choices and voices. But fundamentally, within that program, we also make sure there's enough room to really dig deep into each of the disciplines in either performance or design tech or theater studies. And so I think our students have an opportunity to kind of experience a little bit of everything, which provides some opportunity for choice to really figure out exactly what they're looking to do. I think, primarily most people at 17 have no idea what the rest of their life has in hold for them. And so we want to make sure we're providing a foundation for choice and a foundation for evolution. But that said, we also want to make sure that there's some real professional training. And so, partnered with that is everything from the business of theater built in. We don't think of the business of theater as sort of the fifth year, right? We think of it starting at the beginning in terms of a foundation of how to understand what the American theater is, how that machine works, how that machine can be changed, and how, each individual can sort of find their way in. And also provide opportunities to understand some of the non-traditional, opportunities that exist with a theater education and background, whether that's in other not-for-profit work, whether that's in other forms of expression or experiential design or performance. I think what we're trying to do is fundamentally provide a process for students to use so that they constantly have a choice and the ability to kind of see where life goes and fulfill those opportunities.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Sure.
And then last but not least, we've got Robert Hoyt from New York University, NYU. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for having me join you today. I just need to say I caught the tail end of part of your PowerPoint there, and it just gave me life. So you guys are really, really appreciated the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, thank you to everyone for being here and taking the time to speak to our audience and our young people. So Robert, my question for you is, what is included in the application / audition / interview process?
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of it, you covered fairly well, and I want to be mindful of our time here. The one thing about Tisch Drama at NYU is that our application process is equally weighted, 50% academic, 50% artistic. So when you apply to Tisch Drama, 2 actions are required on the student's part. The first, you must apply to NYU using the Common App. And the second, you'll complete the Tisch Drama Artistic Review portal a few days after you submit your Common App. You'll get an email from us, which will have a link to your own personalized Drama Artistic Review portal. And that's where you'll update some additional personal information, as well as give us some information about the material that you plan on presenting, upload any required digital materials, and schedule your artistic review. And we call our audition an artistic review because you'll discover that it's a lot more than just the 2 monologues. You'll need to complete both the Common App and the Drama Artistic Review portal to complete your application to NYU and Tisch Drama. In light of COVID-19, we're conducting all our artistic reviews this year digitally over Zoom. I'm sure a lot of you are experts with that right now. We've been doing it for several years now too, offering digital artistic reviews. So we're very well versed on that. Our evaluators hopefully make all of our applicants very comfortable with that. And you can get detailed information about the process on our website. But just in a nutshell, for our acting reviews, our acting candidates are asked to present 2 contrasting contemporary monologues, 90 seconds. And by contemporary, we mean the turn of the 20th century to now, no costumes, no props, your natural voice and your comfortable clothes are just totally fine with us. But afterwards, you'll be invited to have a seat across from your evaluator or across your computer screen with your evaluator. There's only one evaluator. There's no panel. You'll have an opportunity then to have what we call the conversation. This is not an interview. This isn't anything that you could ever prepare yourself for. We're going to use this as an opportunity to get to know you. We've seen your work as an artist. Now we want to get to know you as a person. Why are you choosing to do this at this point in your life? What type of theater are you passionate about? What drives you? What makes you mad? We want to learn more about your excitement and your passion and your creativity for the field. And this conversation that we have with you is just as important as the material that you prepare and present for us. For our musical theater candidates, You'll participate in the same acting review and conversation that I just mentioned. In addition, though, you'll have to perform two 32-bar cuts for a singing evaluation over Zoom. And then we also ask you to upload them as well, just as a backup, because every now and then internet goes out. It's not a pre-screen, anything like that. It's just a backup, though. And then we will also ask you to do a dance evaluation. And the way that we do it digitally is pretty exciting. We will go ahead and we will email you a link where you'll be taught a dance combination with elements of jazz, ballet, modern. You'll review it, you'll teach it yourself, and then when you're ready, you'll tape yourself doing it, and then you'll upload that to the Drama Artistic Review portal as well. And then we'll use that as part of your musical theater evaluation. And then we have artistic reviews available, though, for students who are interested in directing, as well as in production and design. And again, you can go ahead and visit the Tisch Drama website and get all that detailed information.
Yes, and again, Isaiah was emphasizing it before, and I'm glad that Robert emphasized it here. Check because as you can see, the interview process, the application process, the audition process, it all varies depending on the school, depending on the program within the same department. Isaiah, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, I just wanted to echo, like, if you're looking at websites and you might be confused about the requirements, email professors. I'm not a professor, you all are professors. I feel professors love emails, clarification, especially from prospective students that are interested about what they need to do to come bring into the room. All right, I do have some questions, and this is open up to the entire group. What is your institution or department doing to ensure a more inclusive environment for students? We have more BIPOC students trying to enter into the program and the craft of being a theater artist. So I'm just wondering, what are institutions that you all are affiliated with working to achieve that goal?
I mean, it's sort of a hard question to give a quick answer to, right? I mean, I think institutionally what I can say is SUNY New Paltz has been actively engaged in trying to admit more students of color and more students of various diverse backgrounds. And I think over the last couple of years, we've seen incoming classes that self-identify as over 40% students of color. And that's a significant increase over the last couple of years, and definitely more than a generation ago. And as a department, we've been trying to do as much outreach as we can. But fundamentally, I think what matters is how we treat students when they're here and what sort of community exists once they decide to come. And so there are some really kind of mechanical things, right? I mean, our curriculum when I started here 10 years ago was all about dead white European men, right? It's not anymore, right? And I think, 5 or 7 years ago, we moved away from that. And starting last year, we actually started to kind of re-examine not only the specific material, but the courses that we could put together to ensure that all students were exposed to diversity in voice and experience. So I think our curriculum is something that we can control, and we are actively and consistently reviewing what the departmental curriculum is, but also as individual faculty, what material are we using, what references are we using, what examples are we bringing into class, what sort of methods and sort of who are we holding up as the icons? Are they still all, and I'm sorry to use this phrase twice, but are they still all dead white European men? Or are they people that actually represent the population of our students and the people that our students aspire to be? And I think it's really important that we can control that and continue to make sure it evolves. The second component has to do with our production season, which is really an extension of our curriculum, right? And so again, if you look back not that long ago, they're the same plays that every college was doing and had been doing over and over. And that's just not the case anymore. So we're picking material to ensure the fact that there are experiential opportunities for students once they get here. We're making sure that the guest artists and the faculty that we engage with, again, represent the fullness of the American theater and the fullness of New York. As a public institution in the state of New York, I think we all feel the responsibility to be reflective of what New York has to offer. And we can do that in all the ways that we can control locally. I think, it has taken some time, and I think there was some wonderful conversation earlier on the panel about mentorship. we want to make sure that all students feel like they have a comfortable place and person to go to, that there is a space for everyone, a space for everyone to build their own community, as well as to be part of the larger community. And, fortunately, I feel like we're at an institution that has really taken, what has become a series of buzzwords of diversity, inclusion, and equity, and actually turned it into action, right? We are actively trying to make space and place and community for all of the people that are showing up into our program. I would be lying if I said that we never make a mistake. I would be lying if I said that it was perfect, right? But I think sometimes those hiccups are what make the next path on the journey clear. And I think the one thing that I can say about our faculty is we have no problem dusting ourselves off, learning from a misstep and trying to correct the wrong. And I think those are all things that as faculty and as a department, it's our responsibility to consistently address. Yes. Sorry if that was longer than timing wise.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. That's what.
If I may add just about Brooklyn College, and I think the first step is to have these open conversations. Systemic racism is no longer something that's relegated to the background or something that you hear about in the shadows. We're trying to confront it head on and have these conversations at every turn, and trying to confront our own institutional complicity in historical systems of oppression at every turn. Every faculty member is engaged in ongoing implicit bias training. This year, we're also bringing in an outside anti-racism provider to work with the department at every level. So between the students and the adjuncts, as well as the full-time and tenure faculty and the administration, because we acknowledge that we can't just import diversity, that we have to build genuine representation into the systems that exist, and that's a long-term proposition. So we've accepted that we are part of a system that was built on a foundation of discrimination, and in order to kind of deconstruct that, we have committed to a long-term evolution of the program. One thing we've done is our student body is somewhere around 80% BIPOC identifying students. And our faculty, full-time and adjunct, did not reflect that. I'm an example of that. I identify as an Egyptian artist, and I came to the department as the new head of the BFA program. And the first thing I did was kind of reevaluate who our faculty was and invite faculty members of varying identities. And so what we're trying to do is to rebuild not just a system that's more equitable, but a culture that day to day addresses these issues and cultivates the full, unique, complex identity of every artist in the program, and creates a safe space for them where they can see themselves and explore their identities. So it's a long-term process, but we experience it, we feel it, and we talk about it all the time. So we're all forced to confront what we can do more effectively moving forward.
Yeah, I need to go ahead and echo my colleagues' comments on this. Speaking in terms of Tisch Drama and NYU, I personally, I'm extremely proud of the strides that Tisch Drama has made, their commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I think it's reflected not only in the initiatives at Tisch Drama, but also at Tisch School of the Arts, but also in NYU as a whole. In fact, Tisch Drama has its own dedicated Office of Diversity and Inclusion that's committed to addressing the honest and difficult conversations that we have to have concerning racism, as well as creating space for our BIPOC student body. In addition, both Tisch Drama and Tisch School of the Arts have several affinity groups, as well as NYU as a whole that supports our students, as well as all of our training studios. I think just as important, though, and my colleagues mentioned this. This commitment is now reflected in our curriculum. We actively seek out and produce work from diverse historical, geographical, and aesthetic perspectives, as opposed to quote Ken, old white men. We explore dramatic literature from Africa and Asia, Middle East, Europe, and the Americas, among others. Our productions, selected for performance, also reflects and embraces the diversity of our this. Oh, for a minute there, I thought I lost you. I think of this too when we have our visiting artists come in place. Just this past semester, we had the National Black Theater in residence, working with our students and providing new collaborative work and being able to provide, a space and a voice for them. This month, I'm doing a little plug here. We are producing a new play called Everybody by Brendan Jacobs Jenkins. He's best known for his work, The Octoroon. It's based on Everyman, but what he did was he's worked with our cast, and each student portrays Everyman in one way from their own diverse and inclusive perspective. And then last semester, though, we worked on a production based on the work of Diane Arbus, though, and again, using that similar structure. Each student, though, started with the voice of Diane Arbus, but then it became about their particular story as a unique, diverse artist. So I'm extremely proud of the work that we've been doing.
Sounds so exciting, and it's good to know it's happening all over New York City. As many of you have mentioned, woohoo! And especially since we do send a lot of our students at BMCC off to your programs, this is fantastic to hear. Much like they've said, I won't repeat too much of it. We started with us. We're starting with us, looking at ways that we as a faculty, bringing in people from the outside to speak to us about BIPOC issues. How can we be better at addressing the issues, the students? Because like Brooklyn, we're 80–90% BIPOC students, and we want to always seek to serve them. How can we do this best? One of the most recent things we've started to look at is our student learning outcomes. How can we address this? Again, right at just a core level, as we teach you. What is it that you should walk away from this classroom with? So that's one of the initiatives. Also, we are looking at different things. For our student body has all sorts of students, right? Some of our students work, some of our students have children, some of our students take care of parents, and you can't always do rehearsal for several weeks out of a semester, right? So we've implemented different little programs so they all have a chance to participate. Staged readings. We're very fortunate to get a theater coordinator, Carl Williams, who heads up the program. And so he's just had some really great ideas about what are some other ways we can get students involved, get co-curricular credit for them as well, and they don't leave us without any sort of experience at all. Even if it is a staged reading, which is wonderful, it's experience. It's in front of an audience, and so we want our students to have these sorts of experiences before heading out. And sometimes it's just a little difficult in 2 years to do that. So this is one of those are just some of the ways in which we're trying to serve our students the best that we can.
Yes. Based on that, and we were talking about the institution and like each of your departments, kind of want to put it on the perspective of an applicant student. Like, what makes a student a strong applicant for your specific program?
I'll just jump back in there before you end.
Sure.
I think you're ready to come in and explore what does theater mean? What does it really mean to be an actor, right? You have an actor or a designer. You don't have to, on the AS track at BMCC, you don't have to be an actor, okay? If you decide that I want to be behind the scenes working, that track serves you too. So you get to do a little bit of everything, whether it's an acting class, a directing class, you can do playwriting, you can do as I said, building, behind the scenes costuming, makeup, anything you feel like in that time, you get to taste a little bit of all of it. So it helps to come in with a passion to want to do, to learn, to want to explore things, because it's a good place to do that before you step out there and, oh, this is my major. Just come in and experience it a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, thank you.
I could jump in a bit about Brooklyn College. So our program is an ensemble-based kind of conservatory training program. So really, we're trying to build a creative family in that first year. So that in the entire ensemble moves through the progressive program over the course of 3 years. And so what we're trying to do is assemble a group that's going to complement each other. So there's no right and wrong. There's no cookie cutter type of actor or performer that we're looking for in the BFA program specifically. One thing that we added to the application process this year is what I call the unique way submission tape. So along with the conventional 2 contrasting monologues, there's a 2-minute tape, which is basically a wild card. Way stands for who are you? Getting back to that question of who is the individual artist. And so within that 2-minute tape, they can present anything about who they are. If they have another skill, if they're a filmmaker and they want to put some demo material of the things they've made, if they just want to speak to camera directly, or if they're a musician or play an instrument. So that 2-minute tape for me really gives us insight into who the artist is and who the individual is. And we try to assemble a team, or create a family in that ensemble that's going to complement each other and lift each other up throughout the course of the 3 years. So really, we're looking for somebody who's willing to work hard and bring themselves to the work and not hide behind, what they think that we're looking for.
Yeah, to jump in on that too. At Tisch Drama, we're not looking for like one specific type, or we're looking for passionate, creative artists, people who are enthusiastic about entering the field, who have the desire to learn, who want to learn and understand that there's stuff that they don't know. The desire to ask questions and find those answers. We're looking for storytellers. We're looking for artists who want to engage not only with other collaborators, but with their audience, with society as a whole, creatively, intellectually, and professionally. We're looking for students who want to make an impact with their work. Those who are interested in moving the field forward. NYU as a whole itself is known as being a research institution, and we pride ourselves on leading the field in medicine and in law and in business. We can do that though in theater as well. So we're looking for candidates like that. We're looking for artists who want to be challenged, who are eager and willing to learn, be challenged, and grow.
I mean, listening to all of you, it's incredible, right? I mean, the short answer for me should just be yes. Like that, I think, is what we're all looking for, right? I mean, I think one of the differences, given the kinds of programs we are, and I think this is a really exciting opportunity to hear about different kinds of programs, is being a BA program, we're looking for trajectory and potential, right? We're not looking for 2 minutes of this is who you are, we want you now. What we want to make sure is that you have a sense of what we have to offer, what the journey is going to be like, what the opportunities could be. And, in some ways, we're interested in looking for people who want to choose their own adventure, right? Who want to find their voice and develop their voice and see the best way to become an artist as an individual and an artist as part of a community, and use that community for storytelling in the way that you choose, right? And I think what's sort of fascinating is, looking at students at 17 or 18 years old, really our priority is to make sure it's a good fit. And what I mean by a good fit is that the student in front of us is looking for what we have to offer, right? That they're excited about what that journey is going to be, that they're looking to explore different things and find their own sort of toolbox and develop those skills and practices. And also students that are looking to push back. I mean, the most exciting students are the students that are going to be a challenge. And I don't mean a challenge in like, we're going to argue, although that can be great too. I mean, a challenge in terms of like, there's this incredible potential in front of you. And it's such a wonderful opportunity to be able to be part of that mentorship and nurturing so that that person can find their way. And so I think, you know, hearing all of the conversation in the panel before and from my colleagues now, I think in some ways we're all saying the same thing, which is we just want to get to know you. And if you're ready to come be yourself and you're ready to come work hard and you're willing to check just enough of your sort of concerns or your sense of what it's supposed to be at the door so that you're kind of having an honest experience, like come on over, like we'll have a great 4 years, you know. And I think that's something that I would say too, in a way to alleviate some of the concerns that I'm sure you all must have in thinking about applying to college. Like you're the ones with the power, right? You're the ones in a position to come in and do your thing. And we're lucky if you choose us, right? And so I would just urge you to, you know, show your passion and your commitment and your spirit, but show it the way that you feel embodies the you kind of want us to see. That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's a perfect closing.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a perfect way to wrap it up. And Isaiah and I sort of touched on this before, like literally just come as you are. And they're, like we said, audience members, they're just looking to see you in the flesh, and you know, all that comes with do you guys have any parting thoughts before we wrap up? Any brief parting thoughts for our audience members?
Just very quickly, I wanted to mention, I speak kind of specifically from the perspective of the BFA acting program, which I see as an on-ramp for actors to launch them into their professional careers as actors. But we also have a BA program that's a little bit more broad, where students can come in and explore the different avenues within the performing arts field that they might interest them. There's directing. We also have an MFA program, and we have a theater production and design program as well.
Yes. And we'll also be, after this, everyone should be getting a mass email who registered for the event with a link to each one of these institutions and their departments, because we want to get the information out to everyone. Yes. Any last thoughts?
To jump in here too, as Brittany and as Isaiah had mentioned earlier, is to always check the websites. The one thing about Tisch Drama is that we're a fairly unique program. We consist of something we call the studio system. And rather than take up any time though, I'm going to invite you to take a look at the Tisch Drama website there. That will unlock all the information about the program and what's all available here. I think it's very important, though, in terms of just speaking in terms of Tisch Drama, that you understand how we're set up. And as Patrick also mentioned, in terms of his program, we also have not only an acting track, but we also have a directing track, as well as production and design and stage management. So when you have an opportunity, please, I invite you to go ahead and take a really deep dive into the website and the program there. Lastly, what I'm going to say is that there's a button there called Contact Us, and that will have the Tisch Drama undergraduate email. If you have any questions, please shoot us an email. I guarantee you there is a real person on the other end there, and we will respond to you. We will not be upset if you ask us any questions. In fact, we invite you to do that. So that's my parting. Hopefully I'll end up seeing some of your names come across in your applications. I say you go into it. Give us an opportunity to say yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if auditioning is a little scary for you for some reason, BMCC does not have an audition policy. Once you're accepted, once you apply, you're accepted, you can then choose your major, and you do audition for shows, but you do not have to audition to be a part of the program, if that's something you're interested in also.
Great. I feel like I should have prepared a better commercial. So I guess what I will just say in terms of like our institution is, first of all, I think one of the things you should look at is what the university as a whole has to offer as well, right? I mean, I think most theater students would tell you they are first and foremost a theater student with a particular faculty, but you want to make sure you feel at home and that there are opportunities outside of that sort of narrow field as well. And so in that regard, what I would say is, particularly in terms of things like financial aid or access, look at things like the educational opportunity programs that might exist at some of the schools you're applying to. Look at the other things that, again, remind yourself that you have the power in this conversation a little bit. What I would say specifically about applying in general, whether you're interested in a BFA or a BA, or if you're not really sure what you're interested in, get to talk to some current students, find out what it's really like to be a student there, find out what it's really like to spend your time after making that commitment. And also, in keeping with what Robert was saying, reach out. If you don't get treated well as a prospective student, that's a pretty good indication your line of access is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller once you're there. So look for, between hearing from students, hearing from faculty, what are the opportunities for real access and mentorship and partnership with your faculty and with the other students? I mean, obviously, I think we do a pretty good job of that, or those aren't the things I would tell you to look out for. But wherever you're applying, look for those connections with, with current students and faculty. Make sure it feels like a good fit and trust your gut. If there's a red flag in an audition or in an application process or in an interview, if there's a red flag, trust your gut and walk away. There will be a place that's the right fit for you and provide the right opportunity for you.
Yeah. Like, big emphasis on that. Thank you so much for saying that again. Thank you so much to all of our panelists and our college representatives. If you didn't get an RSVP to the link today, but want to receive more things from Opening Act, please email act2@openingact.org. And then it's also a reminder to follow Opening Act on social media. So it's OA Act 2 and opening_act_for_all on Instagram.
We hope this was helpful to everyone. And thank you again so much for joining us. And audience members, I hope that this was helpful, and good luck in pursuit of, your acting, directing, theater careers. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a good evening. Take care.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all so much. This was great. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Pleasure.